a one-size-fits-all approach, where all students are taught the same material at the same place, regardless of their individual abilities and learning needs. This outdated mechanism fails to account for the diverse range of talents, interests, and learning speeds that exist among students. It's time for a change. We support academic streaming at a young age. What does this model look like? There are two important pieces of framing to highlight. A, the model that we support would stream students based on their academic performance, such as but not limited to test scores and teachers' evaluation. B, this would apply to each subject accordingly, meaning that a student excelling in math but failing in English would be assigned to be advanced math class and a basic English class. With that being said, moving on to my first argument. Academic streaming is in line with the primary goal of the education system. The primary objective of any education system is to provide a learning environment that maximizes the potential of every student. This is particularly important at a young age where students practice fundamental aspects of academic subjects. Unfortunately, in the status quo, this goal is impossible due to the structural problems of this. Oh, yes.
The goal of schools and education systems is to provide you with assistance and education in order to prepare you for society. And without being people in your age group, it is impossible to prepare you socially for you to step out into society. What is your response?
The response is that the thing you said is like the percent of people doing that is very odd. And now moving on. And unfortunately, in this um uh um teachers face the challenges of catering to various academic levels. This often results in a compromise where no one wins. Slower students struggle to keep up, risking failing behind, while faster students are now sufficiently challenged and become disengaged. This approach not only hampers the learning experience but also stifles potential. In contrast, what do you expect to see under academic streaming? Academic streaming allows for customized learning where lesson plans and teaching methods can be adjusted according to the group's ability level. Higher achieving students can be challenged with more advanced material, while those who may need extra help can receive it without feeling left behind or bored. Yes.
Streaming makes people feel static, makes the slower students feel static and makes their abilities viewed as unchangeable. How do you allow these students to feel better?
As you said, some students might feel that, but not all students feel that. And because of those little peoples, why should you change the rules to that? And uh, board, this ensures that all students are engaged and learning at a pace suitable for them, thereby maximizing educational outcomes from a young age. And moving on to argument two, academic streaming ensures that students receive a fair return for the investment made by their parents. One of their fundamental expectations from any education system is that it provides a fair return of the investment that parents make, whether through taxes for public education or tuition fees for private education. Academic streaming is a way to ensure that this is returned in equitable and maximize the educational benefits for every student, reflecting the value of their contribution made by their parents, and we're very proud to uphold.
The curriculum in any academic year is thoughtfully designed to measure more than just a child's intellect and skills. It also considers a child's emotional maturity, social interactions, and potential for holistic growth. Education should not be viewed solely as a means to produce immediate academic excellence, but as a broader developmental process that prepares students for various life challenges. Proud to oppose. Firstly, onto our team model then. First, classes should remain fixed and based on general groups with special provisions for extreme outliers at either end of the spectrum. For those who are highly advanced, special courses can be offered to challenge them further. Similarly, supplementary classes such as summer school can help needing additional support catch up. This system provides flexibility and targeted support without completely overhauling the educational structure. Note that for the government side's benefit to work, they have to prove one metric and standard assessment they will apply to accurately assess the child's skills and intelligence. They'll have to concede that there will be inaccuracies or arbitrary metrics based on the innate talents that will be accounted for instead of actual skills. Now, one rebuttal then, before moving on to the two substantives. On the rebuttal for the entire policy of the government side, regardless of the benefits and impacts on the government side, they have to defend and explain what metrics will be applied to test the child's skills. Currently, this would be based on traditional methods and random factors such as skill in memorization, grammar, and cognitive abilities. And these can be some methods to test performance, but that merely reflect the status quo's problem with the educational system where you do not value diversity in skills and strength. In addition, note how this gives an arbitrary advantage to richer kids who can afford individual tutors to improve their scores during the testing periods. Moreover, there's a difference between nature and nurture regarding education. Most students, especially those who are lagging behind, come from backgrounds with fewer resources. All of this would mean that division and stratification of lower performing students would be determined from a young age simply because of factors like birth lottery, which are equally arbitrary but also more evil on the government side. And moving on to our first argument then about the shift, how the shift would lead to the worst forms of division. Academic streaming inherently divides students based on perceived ability, which can lead to social stratification within schools. This division often aligns with socioeconomic status, as students from wealthier backgrounds may have access to resources like private tutoring that enable them to perform better in certain subjects. As a result, streaming can reinforce existing inequalities, with wealthier students being grouped and receiving better educational opportunities, while less privileged students are left behind. Labeling students on their academic performance can have long-lasting psychological effects. Those in lower streams may internalize the sense of inferiority, decreasing self-esteem and motivation. This can create a self-fulfilling prophecy where lower stream students are less likely to push themselves academically, as they may feel like their placement limits their potential. The division created by streaming can extend beyond the classroom, leading to broader societal implications. When students are segregated based on ability from a young age, it can reinforce a culture of elitism and exclusion that persists into adulthood. This can contribute to a more divided and less cohesive society, where individuals are less likely to understand or empathize with those from different backgrounds. Now, that being said, moving on to our second substantive about how this would only further hurt the slower students on Gov side. Streaming can instill a fixed mindset in slower students who begin seeing their abilities as static and unchangeable. When students are consistently placed in lower streams, they may believe that they are inherently less capable than their peers, which can deter them from putting in the effort needed to improve. This contrasts with the growth mindset that mixed ability classes can foster, where students are encouraged to view challenges as opportunities for learning and development. In mixed ability classrooms, slower students can observe and learn from higher performing peers. This exposure can be a powerful motivator, pushing them to strive for higher standards. Streaming, however, isolates these students from high-achieving peers, reducing their exposure to more advanced concepts and high expectations that drive academic improvement. When slower students are grouped, the curriculum is often adjusted to match the lower average ability of the class. This can result in a watered-down education that fails to challenge these students or encourage them to push beyond their current limitations. Over time, this stagnation can lead to a significant gap between slower and their peers, making it even harder for them to catch up later. And due to the harms that government bench still has until the end of this debate, we're so proud to oppose.
Starting with my rebuttal, they said that if children get to low class, then they will think that they are not good at certain subjects. We disagree because they will be happier because we stream students based on their academic levels, and if they find the level that they can understand, and they can do like homeworks, or they can understand the lesson well, they will be happier, and studying will be more fun, and also they will not think that they are. Also, if we stream students, they will get the right lesson levels they need, so they will get better knowledge than not streaming students. And if we stream students, those students, they will go into upper classes because they upper classes because they learn the right level that they need. Now moving on to my argument. Yes.
How does streaming allow students to foster a growth mindset when students will perceive their abilities to be static and unchangeable?
We disagree because they will have the right learning level, and and classes will be much more fun, and they will keep growing because they fully understand their lesson that the school teaches, and we think that they will go into the higher level when streamed. Moving on to my argument. Argument number 3, academic streaming strengthens dependency on private education. Academic streaming within public education systems can strengthen the dependency on private education. When students are streamed based on perceived academic abilities, those placed in lower streams may not receive the same quality of education or opportunities as those in higher streams. This disparity often leads parents to seek private education as an alternative, believing it offers a more tailored and superior educational experience for their children. We recognize that such happens in the status quo as well. Already in countries like South Korea, parents spend a significant amount of money ensuring that their children get straight A's from a young age. The problem, very proud to approve.
The first warning sign of a failed education system is one that doesn't allow students to improve. We cannot tolerate propositions unfair stratification of students, further demotivating struggling students from the tantalizing prospect of success. So proud to oppose moving straight on to rebuttals. Firstly, on the idea of generally creating a more personalized learning environment, we have 3 responses. Firstly, a personalized learning environment is not the purpose of schools. It caters to various accumulations of knowledge under the assumption that they will all be prerequisites to determine the interest and growth of the student. This is important because the choice should be made by the child when they're actually old enough. Creating a personalized class that is only geared towards the general weaknesses and strengths of the student deprives them of the opportunity to explore various knowledges and various topics that would actually be vital for them in the future. But secondly, the other simple response is that this choice already exists in status quo. Students can explore what they are eventually good at as time passes by. They can literally choose their major when they're applying for university. Specialized and personalized learning already happens. The burden of government side, which they don't prove yet, is to prove why that should happen from a very young age, where the growth of the individual is still largely ambiguous and vulnerable to various factors. But thirdly, they try to talk about how students will be happy, like struggling students will be happier now that they actually understand the content. Again, the debate winning point coming from Yena, coming from our LO, is that the mindset of these young kids prevents this from happening. They think that they will only stagnate, that they're not good enough to be able to move up classes. Therefore, like happiness and being able to improve and whatnot is probably unlikely. Before moving on to our third argument, I just wanted to rebut DPM's point, right? That private education is strengthened since now students can't get adequate education that actually suits them in schools. Firstly, we think that this happens on either worlds anyways. For example, in countries like South Korea or Japan, where academics stress and success is so high, these like tiger parents still send their kids to like private education and private tutors, regardless of what like advanced classes and other special curriculums their school already creates for them. But also know that we also have like special curriculums and training like summer schools and whatnot that RLO already brought up in her speech, which was not engaged to. Moving on to our third argument then about how specialization only leads to high risk for students instead of holistic education. Premise here is that government's case assumes that early specialization in education is beneficial. However, this narrow focus can limit students' exposure to a broad range of subjects and experiences, which are essential for developing a well-rounded understanding of the world. By focusing too early on certain specific areas of strength, students may miss out on opportunities to discover new interests or develop skills in other important, crucial areas that will benefit them specifically later in life. Simple mechanism in this argument is that a holistic education, which includes a diverse range of subjects and experiences, is crucial for developing critical thinking, problem solving, and adaptability. Skills that are increasingly important in a rapidly changing and a rapidly developing world. Mixed ability classrooms that expose students to a wide variety of perspectives and challenges help to cultivate these skills, preparing students for a future where they will actually need to be versatile and resilient. Two impacts that happen here then. Firstly, specialization can also increase the risk that students will become overly dependent on their strengths in a particular certain subject that their school gives advanced education to, leaving them vulnerable if they actually encounter challenges or changes that in that field later in life. For example, a student that already excels in math and is streamed into advanced math classes may neglect other areas of study only to find later that their career opportunities are limited by their lack of broader knowledge and skills. Second impact is that the most successful individuals are often those who possess a broad set of skills and the ability to adapt to new situations. But by emphasizing specialization too early, the government's model may limit students' long-term potential, as they may now struggle to adapt to new challenges or pursue different career paths in the future. A holistic education, on the other hand, and in our world, equips students with the flexibility and diverse skill set needed to succeed in a variety of contexts, which means that students don't have to worry that they put too much attention on one field and now they will struggle in another. We create this holistic education benefiting them in the long run. For these reasons, so proud to oppose.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have prepared two major questions for this debate, and before I move on, I will complete my rebuttal. They have said that if these children meet new challenges think that they're dumb in one subject and really smart in one subject, if they encounter the challenges in let's say these students are bad at math, then these students will get hindered by these challenges. But we believe that the whole point of school is to grow in academics, and we believe that challenges are one of the major factors of improving their skills, and we believe that this is not a bad thing, where they can actually learn and be helped by their parents and the teachers. And we believe that the students will, even if they are getting hindered in the short term, we believe that these challenges will actually help them in a big way in the long term. Moving on to our first clash. Our first clash is that academic streaming is in line with the primary goal of education.
Yeah.
And yes.
You have to concede that there will be inaccuracies or arbitrary metrics based on innate talents that would be accounted instead of actual skills. What metric and standard assessments will you apply your side to accurately access the child's skill?
Can you repeat?
You have to concede that there will be inaccuracies or arbitrary metrics based on innate talents that would be accounted for instead of actual skills. What metrics will you apply to accurately access the child's skills and intelligence?
Because if these students will get these challenges, then we believe that let's say some students are bad at science, and these students have to learn what is something like chemistry, but we believe that they're encountering a challenge. But we believe that if these teachers and their parents can help, we think that they can even learn more rather than be discouraged by this. And carrying on with our clash, which was about academic streaming, meets the primary goal of will it meet the primary goal of education system or not? We've pointed out that the primary objective of any education system is to provide a learning environment that maximizes the potential of every student, especially at a young age. And our Prime Minister showed you that there's an inherent structural problem in the status quo, where most schools ignore different learning paces of the students, and this results in a compromise where students who excel and students who fall behind and who are left in inadequate education. We refuse to call this a proper education, and we believe that this fails the core value of school education. Moving on to our second clash, which is the
the impact of academic streaming and whether it is worth supporting. Our team has pointed out two unique impacts on academic streaming, and we'll move on to our first impact, which is we make sure that parents see the financial contributions which are being used effectively, and if these students if the parents look at these children, their child's work, and they see that they're improving because of academic streaming, they'll give more tax to more money to these schools, and we believe that we believe that these schools can be more better. And our second impact is that there will be reduced dependency on private education. We believe that one of the major reasons why parents make them go to private education. Yes.
The most successful individuals in today's society are often those who possess a broad set of skills and the ability to adapt to new situations. A holistic education system should equip students with the flexibility and that diverse skill set needed to succeed in a variety of contexts. It is not to give you loads of material and maximize your potential, but to prepare you for society. School is not for maximizing your learning, and here's why. If this were the case, then instead of a holistic education, it would be more effective to mandate children into fields that the government assigns to be good for them and able to maximize their learning. The general purpose of schools is to widen the possible options in the individual so that they are equipped to make the important decisions for them in the future in order to choose your major for college or occupational field or whatnot. So we don't want to remove that principle for our side. Moving on to a few other rebuttals. First, know how opposition engages very minimally with the rich and poor disparity point that we bring up. Most students, especially those who are falling short, come from backgrounds with fewer resources monetarily and simply just general resources. All of this would mean the division and stratification of these lower students would be determined by a birth lottery, which are equally arbitrary, but also more evil and can be perceived as such on the government side. In addition, note how this gives an arbitrary advantage to rich kids who can afford individual tutors to improve their scores during the test period. We see very wishy-washy responses in response to this, so we want a clear response. In response to my LSPOI, simply states the challenges are good, and this looks like throwing kids a test paper when they encounter a challenge, they are placed in the class that distinctifies the challenge. Note how holistic education should appreciate various forms of education, and currently this will be based on traditional methods and random factors such as memorization, grammar, cognitive abilities, and these can be seen as some methods to test performance, but they merely reflect the status quo's problem with the education system where you do not value diversity in skills and strengths. What if someone is good at speaking? What if someone is good at art? You don't know that with a simple piece of paper. This is the problem with government side. Moving on to our team's first question on how do slower students benefit from streaming? What are inherent problems that my first speaker talked about in her first speech? First, lower stream classes may have fewer resources, less experienced teachers, and less engaging materials because they are simply viewed as less capable, which affects the quality of education. An education system should provide something that's holistic and same for every single individual. Being placed in this lower stream also leads to stigmatization for yourself, meaning that you feel zero self-confidence, which negatively impacts the motivation and the academic performance that you feel. Again, slower students may develop the fixed attitude, being viewed their attitude as stagnant or unalterable, meaning that these students who are placed in these inferior streams on a regular basis may feel like they're less capable than their colleague students, meaning that they can be discouraged from making the necessary improvements because they feel that their abilities are static and no matter what they do, they remain such. This is in contrast to the growth attitude that mixed ability classrooms can promote, which encourages kids to see obstacles as chances for personal improvement. In mixed ability classrooms, students can observe them from higher performing peers, meaning that streaming it isolates students from higher achieving peers, reducing their exposure to more advanced concepts and the high expectations that drive academic improvement and you to do better than them. Learning environment is not the purpose of schools. It caters to various accumulations of knowledge under the assumption that they will be all prerequisites to determining the interest and the growth of the students, meaning that specialization also increases the risk that the student will become only dependent on their strengths in a particular subject, only wishing to grow in that subject, which is worse on their comparative. Our second clash is age a good factor to define skills, or is a meritocratic society more desirable? We agree that age is not the most objective, but both sides of assessment methods are arbitrary. Based on the intelligence and the skills of a child from a very young age, assumes the government side will be using existing standardized mechanisms that would not accurately reflect the skills of a child because, like I said in my introduction, what if their skills lie in another field that can be viewed on paper? The reason why they're not accurate is because the development of the child widely varies from external factors. The skill of a child is conditional and changing to many things, which is why it should not be a predetermined factor from a very young age. And even if you apply the claim that age is absolutely arbitrary, the harm of this is unclear because for as long as many parts of our interactions are determined by various factors and standards of skills that are largely changing, it is better to err the side of caution and base it off of the most average metric, which is the cognitive and physical development of an average person, which is usually age. For these reasons, still propose.
There's only one barrier that stops the struggling and most vulnerable students from growing, and that is their fixed mindset. We hear no response from government on how these children, immature and naive, will have the perception of themselves, thinking that because they're already in the lowest class, that they're already in class C, while so many other students are in class A, they will never be able to move up the ladder and improve. For these reasons, still so proud to oppose. First point, we have 3 points for why we win this debate, but firstly about the various stakeholders. I'll divide this into 2 points. A, advanced student, right? Government side might think that advanced students will showcase more of their potential when going to advanced classes and they'll actually learn content suitable for their level. However, advanced students should still learn to collaborate and work with those who may have different skill levels. At the end of the day, when we consider what's better for them in the future, it's more beneficial for them to have collaboration skills, being able to work with others regardless of their skill set. But also when it comes to struggling students, right? We don't think that they're helped either because of their fixed mindset and their self-fulfilling prophecy that they will never be able to improve. Again, no response coming from proposition on this point. But second point why we win this debate is because we properly characterize the purpose of schools, right? Again, purpose of schools and purpose of education as a whole is not personalized education, since that never allows students to equally focus on all aspects of studying, preventing them from being versatile and flexible. Instead, what we told you is that the purpose is to prepare you for the future, where not only will you have to collaborate with various individuals, but also where you will have to adapt to unexpected concepts, which means that if you focus too much on math because you're placed in the advanced math class, then you'll probably have more weaknesses and therefore you will not have access to holistic and beneficial education. Lastly, why we win this debate is because we improve social interactions. The debate winning argument from my LO that was never responded to is our point about helping social interactions, right? Students need to learn how to collaborate and empathize with others, regardless of skill sets. And we heard no response from Gov at this point, so we can only assume that they concede. Thus, bringing back this crucial argument into the debate, right? The significant impact here is that now there will be general societal implications created. If there seems to be, for example, like racial correlations with students in this stratification, i.e. only Asians are in the advanced class while students of a specific skin color are in the struggling class, then immature and naive students that don't know what these correlations mean will probably end up creating their own perception from this, and they will inevitably grow up with the same mindset. For all these reasons, clear off ballot. Thank you.
Judge, please be reminded with this better. A world where everyone fully understands their lesson that they take and by reducing the dependency of private education. Underprivileged students can go to a college that they deserve. Or a world where some people understand a world where a lesson is so hard or so easy and learning nothing and can't go to a college that they deserve. Our team decide world government, a world where everyone fully understands that their lesson that they take was much more better. It is because firstly, in the status quo, we are currently relying on private education because the lesson that they take in school are too hard or too easy. However, underprivileged students or family has to be fair. If they fully understand their lesson on school, they can go to a college that they deserve. And like we do in the status quo, if we rely on private education because their lesson that they take on school is not the right level that underprivileged family cannot pay for, that family will feel very, very unfair because their kid can't understand or their kid can't understand the lesson that the school is having. Or if the underprivileged family's student is very good at certain subjects, however, the lesson that they take on school is too hard that the students learns nothing, and there is no reason to go to school. So we think that we strongly have to stream students by their academic levels from a young age. Very proud of